got 600 people, you have what? 600 victims, right, that are out, right, that are victims. So that's a total of 1,200 families affected in Hinds County. The jail is currently under a consent decree. I don't know if you know that. The Department of Justice, do you all know that?
Yeah.
Okay. And the Department of Justice said we need to do several things. One of the main things we need to do is make the jail safer. You guys don't hear this, but I do. That the jail regularly has violent incidents in it with our individuals that are being detained in the jail, as well as the people that are jailers. So they're being hurt as well. So my number one thing that I have to do in the sheriff's job is to keep the jail straight and fit. That's our job as a sheriff. Okay. We're gonna need a new jail. New jail roughly is going to cost us a roughly 1,000-bed jail. It's going to roughly cost us about $28 million, give or take. Out of that $28 million, yes. But one of our other issues is we're repairing the jail to the tune of $4 and $5 million almost every year. So we've got to get a new jail. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to fund a new jail? Anybody have any ideas?
Raise taxes.
Raise taxes.
That's how it's gonna happen.
Anybody heard of 1% sales tax? Raise your hand.
Yes.
Okay, do you know where that originated from? Day one, where it was birthed. It came from the police union. When I was police union president, we approached the city council at that time in 2007. We asked them to fund a raise for our career pay path plan. They said we can't do that. We don't have any money. But what we can do to take the floor is it will allow you to figure out ways that you can your own raise. And within that, we birthed the 1% sales tax. That was slated to give back then raise $33 million. Out of that $33 million, we're going to split that money three ways. A third was to go to the police department, a third to the fire department, and a third to the city. By 2009, the bill got amended. I believe it was Mayor Harvey Johnson that amended the bill, and the city ended up taking the entire 1%. So why did I say that to you? I said that because I know how to think out of the box and think of ways to raise funds, right? We were raising funds for ourselves at that time, right? From 1996 up to the present time, the government has funded counties and localities to the tune of $277 million to fund jails specifically for jails, okay? So there's ways to find money. There's all kind of money out there. We just have to look for it and find it. Things that directly relate to you all in your neighborhoods and in your houses. The sheriff department is going to run a block on lock program. How many of y'all know somebody or live in Woodley area? In the Woodley? Do they have a roving patrol in that area of citizens?
I don't think so.
I was told at one point Woodley, Woodhaven, at some point in time they had some like a citizens police.
They may have had.
If they were citizens.
Right.
Right.
We're going to have something similar to that, except the sheriff department is going to run. Okay, because we realize that there's 326 million people in this country. There's only 800,000 law enforcement officers in this country. So if you do the math, the sheriff's department or the police departments can't police everything. We need you all to assist. We need the assistance of the citizens. So with the block on lock program, we'll have specialized units that patrol your area, along with making sure that you all are very aware of what's going on in your neighborhoods. But the difference is we're going to run that program. Okay? So some of the other things that we're going to do, we're going to target our violent offenders, especially our career offenders. We're going to have a task force. I was on a task force pretty much most of my career with the Jackson Police Department, so I understand how task force works. I headed up a task force with almost every federal and local agency. We had about 40 members of that task force at one point in time. And so we're going to target our career criminals and our violent criminals that keep offending and keep getting out of jail. And lastly, I don't know if you all know this, but we've got individuals that have been in the jail since 2013 and 2014. The jail is a detention center. It is not a prison. We've got individuals that have been in there for murder because they're still awaiting the reports from the medical examiner's reports. If you go online, you can see those individuals still in jail. So I have a reputation for having great relationships. We're going to sit down I've already sat down with some of the potential DAs and discuss ways we can get some of those people out of the jail, right? And so we can start putting people that have committed misdemeanor crimes in jail. Did you know if you commit a misdemeanor in the city, you don't go to jail? You just get a fear release because the jail is full. They can't take anybody else. We lost our state inmates. I'm sure you're aware of that. The inmates that used to clean up in the streets and on the side of the roads, we lost those. We lost the federal inmates. They all go to Madison County, right? So we've got to have these relationships and get these individuals back, A, out of jail, and B, the ones that are in jail that can't pay their fines. If you owe $2,500 on a ticket and you can't pay $2,500, why are we still having you sit in jail? What are you doing in jail? There's nothing you're doing. You're just sitting there. So why can't you be out on the streets, cutting the grass, fixing these blighted properties? Makes sense, right? So, and lastly, again, I mentioned that I train officers all over the world. We partner with police and sheriff departments all over the entire country. I just got back from New Mexico and Las Vegas. And so we sit down with the command staff and we learn about what they're doing in their cities and their counties. And so every time I sit down, I am literally blown away at the things these departments are doing. So they are heading and cutting off crime on the front end rather than the back end. You understand? So we're not going to arrest our way out of crime. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what you watch on TV. We will never arrest our way out of crime. I've been there and I've tried it and it does not work. Crime has to be fought on the front end through programs, through relationships with the neighborhoods, and also through making sure our youth don't commit crimes as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Questions?
Any questions?
I'm glad you clarified that about inmates sitting in jail when they could be out doing labor, because I have talked to some of your opponents, and some of your opponents, they mentioned that, oh, so you're supporting someone that want to let prisoners out. Just let them out free. And so, exactly,
That's
right.
not what he just said.
Right, exactly. So that's what some of your opponents are saying.
It's called
So
politics.
you're right. I know.
They're not.
Because they're trying to sway me to not support him too. But that's what they're saying. They're saying, oh, so you're supporting him and he's gonna let free prisoners and so on, but you know the law. And you know what you know how to enforce it effectively.
Yes. And what's the main population or demographic in the jail? Who do they look like?
Exactly.
So we keep locking up our own.
Right.
And I'm telling you from the horse's mouth,
Uh-huh.
I locked up our own. And I've had a complete 180. We can't do that anymore. It does
Right.
not work. It does not work.
Because I had never heard you say that. Like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, could I have an example of what you mean when you say crime fought on the front end?
Prior to individuals committing crimes, let's use the students, the youth. MDE reported in 2015-16 that over 50% of the kids that attended the school system were chronically absent. That's every other child was chronically absent from school. 30% of our kids in school have been suspended at least one time out of school. One time. So this is my other part of it. Rather than you listening to me talk to you and tell you things or any of the other individuals that's running for any other office, you got to educate yourself. You got to look at the data that I didn't say that it says 1 in 3 black men go to prison. 1 in 3. 1 in 3 black men go to jail. That's crazy.
Right.
And then if you're introduced into the criminal justice system one time, you're more than likely to recidivize and go back to jail. So we got to stop suspending our students, right? Did they suspend? Were you all suspended or were you disciplined in school?
Discipline.
You were disciplined. You know what the discipline is now? Get out of my classroom and go roam the streets. Now, how do I know that? For a year, I worked with JPS and Biloxi school system trying to keep the school systems from suspending the children. And it was sad. It was sad. That's their problem. That's the remedy to a child acting out. Now, I know we can't do corporal punishment. There are so many other ways we can punish someone, but we don't want to send them to the detention center because that creates the school to prison pipeline. Once they go to the detention center, the next is the Raymond Detention Center, right? So all this is incumbent upon us, not just me. It's incumbent upon us to say, hey, look at these numbers that these people have gotten and said that when you put these children in the detention center or put them out of school, they're more likely to end up in the back of a police car. That's not me saying that. That's data that says that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it either. 6 years ago, I didn't know it. But so it's a community issue. It's not a police issue. We have a drug problem now. All of our kids are using pills and opiates, right? We have all kind of races of folks walking and roaming the streets. I was at Belhaven the day before yesterday talking to some individuals. They were so upset that it's people that's homeless everywhere. They're homeless, drug addicted people. And you can't arrest your way out of that problem. It's not gonna happen. It's a community problem. And I know nobody wants to hear that, but I live directly across the street from an abandoned house, and almost every other, how many days, John? 3-4 days, we're running somebody away from that house. Going and living in the house. So these are community issues that we have to solve. You're gonna have people tell you all day that I'm gonna put them in jail and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do. You can say that all you want, but it hasn't worked yet.
Okay, so you're saying you can't do the corporal punishment, but what are you saying you can do?
What you can do is punish within that realm, so you can make them clean up after school. And I've said this to school, to principals and whatnot. Make them clean up after school. Make them clean up during school. Make them work in the cafeteria. There's so many different ways that you can punish a child rather than laying your hands on them.
Research papers. Go out and study and write a paper.
Make them stand up in front of class and speak. Make them do a report where they have to speak out loud.
Right.
It's 1,000 different ways you could punish me, right? Because me personally, I'll take a whooping in a minute. But don't make me stand up in front of the class and have to do a report. I
Right.
want to know. So now me standing up here now, it's a miracle. It's a miracle for me. I got a little sweat coming down. But when you get me talking about issues that aren't on here and that are not on my platform piece of paper, I get passionate and heated because it's not from what somebody told me, it's from what I've seen. It's from what I've seen. So again, I open up my backyard to the kids in the neighborhood, the bad kids, the kids that carry guns. All the kids know John, my son. John ain't a bad kid, but the kids that's sagging and pants down to their ankle, they all know him. They all know my daughter. They all know the house. If I need something, guess who I go to? They're gonna come help me canvass in a few days. I'm gonna pay them. They had a huddle up yesterday to see how much they was gonna charge me, and then they said it was too low. They said, all right, $8. I said, $8 an hour? I said, that's too low. What did I give somebody yesterday when we were driving around the park? What did I give him? He was cutting the yard. $5. The young man was cutting the yard in the neighborhood. He got a hard time. His mother got a little emotional. Hold up. His mother is not quite right. And so this is the only kid you see in the neighborhood pushing a lawnmower, trying to knock on people's doors to cut their yard. So I just pulled up and gave him some money because he's trying to do something other than do what? Break in your house.
Right.
So this is the kind of stuff that we have to do beyond me. If you don't like what I'm saying, I understand, but we got to get out in the streets. We have to meet them where they are. We have to meet them where they are.
All right. Good.
Okay.
Good. Good. Thank you. We certainly thank you. How about that?
Thank you.
Okay. We have Representative Marcus Williams here back. While I got both of you there, I noticed there are a couple of signs in our right of way up there. We ask that you remove those signs. Okay. Or we're going to remove them.
Yes, sir.
We don't allow sign posting. Now, I notice some of our neighbors have some, and our covenant specifically forbids that.
Is that right there at the corner?
Right at the corner. Any corner where we have a sign or whatever on both sides of the street, we don't allow. Remove signs from there. The last election series, I wrote several people, so any signs that are going to be placed there, they're going to be removed. They should in their yards. You know, we'll deal with them. But